History being made. Donald Trump being sworn in as the 47th president of the United States of America. 45 and 47. Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Chief Justice Roberts to administer the presidential oath of office.
Think of what it has taken to get to this point, everybody. I mean, just amazing. The last 4 years, he has been up against everything, right? And everyone, the mainstream media, absolutely detesting Donald Trump. And yet, the American people, together with him, triumphed against all odds. And he now becomes the second president in U.S. history. You got to go back to Grover Cleveland to have seen anything like this. And by the way, I would just add that this is a little more, because Grover Cleveland didn't have to deal with the mainstream media that we all have seen functioning alive and well now. It is a new day in America, and there is so much more to come. He reacted to all of this in his speech there at the swearing in, expressing how much things needed to change and how much things will change. Take a listen.
Our sovereignty will be reclaimed. Our safety will be restored. The scales of justice will be rebalanced. The vicious, violent, and unfair weaponization of the Justice Department and our government will end. And our top priority will be to create a nation that is proud, prosperous, and free. America will soon be greater, stronger, and far more exceptional than ever before. I return to the presidency confident and optimistic that we are at the start of a thrilling new era of national success. A tide of change is sweeping the country. Sunlight is pouring over the entire world. And America has the chance to seize this opportunity like never before.
Isn't that the truth? In other words, this is an opportunity. Think about it. If he had just gone in back in 2020, he still would have been fighting this uphill battle, dealing with all the vitriol that was out there at the time. Not my president, he's not a legitimate president, Russia, Russia, Russia. And instead, you know what? He went off, fought them all in the court of law. I mean, you talk about lawfare on steroids, and he has still come back triumphant. So it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. A lot of amazing things. I want to take you back to what just happened moments ago, because Carrie Underwood was singing, and apparently the audio equipment wasn't working, so she had to do the whole thing a cappella. Take a look. She asked everyone to join along. It's like it's going to kill Kamala Harris. I mean, this is a tough day for Kamala Harris, right? Let's face it. Let's listen. Carrie Underwood there singing America the Beautiful. Okay. The ice-cold stare of Kamala Harris is really quite something. Wow. Really, really terrific. Carrie Underwood stepping up to the plate there, because she took a lot of heat, a lot of criticism from the ladies on The View, of course. How could she? How dare she? You know, Donald Trump is this, that, and the other. Look, the train's left the station. America's moved on, and they've left shows like The View and the rest of the mainstream media behind. And Donald Trump is moving forward with 200 executive orders, all in day one. And by the way, he's starting on immigration. I want you to hear this.
Today I will sign a series of historic executive orders. With these actions, we will begin the complete restoration of America and the revolution of common sense. It's all about common sense. First, I will declare a national emergency at our southern border. all illegal entry will immediately be halted, and we will begin the process of returning millions and millions of criminal aliens back to the places from which they came.
He started already. All right, he said he would, and sure enough, the Trump administration is shutting down already the border app that is what the migrants would use to come in and apply to the United States of America, and they're not too happy about it. They're pretty upset. You can see, here's a picture that was shared on Twitter. They're complaining that the app is shut down, but this is what he promised to do. The move effectively shutting off that pathway for people to look to come to the country. Let me take you to Ciudad Juarez, Mexico, where they have some video there of a woman crying, sobbing, because she has lost her appointment there via that app. She's not going to be able to keep that, at least not at this point in time. Take a look. And of course, the media getting a lot of footage, and she's very upset. So this is the picture that you're going to see probably in the New York Times in a short amount of time, because they will most definitely play up the anguish of some of these people who want to come to this country and try and tug on everyone's heartstrings that way. But there's still sort of the harsh, cold reality, which no one really wants to talk about, but it's the common sense approach, which is that, you've got to be able to account for the people that are coming in. You've got to be able to streamline this process in some way so that you're not being left with hundreds of thousands of criminals or people just being here illegally and living off of the system. Here is the port of entry I want to show you down in El Paso, Texas, officially closed moments after Donald Trump was sworn in.
Beyond this point will result in the arrest, prosecution, and possible application of force.
So, and they're saying it in Spanish too, just in case you don't understand. The port of entry there being shut down in El Paso, Texas, moments after Donald Trump was sworn in. And so, you know what? He promised this. He said he was going to do this. His number one priority was to restore our borders and to stop the criminals from coming into the country. And by the way, rounding up any criminals that may be here. So what do we see now? Well, migrants are getting worried. Apparently they're leaving some of these shelters because they're fearful of ICE raids that are looming. Donald Trump and Tom Homan, who's running this program, have said that they would begin those raids as early as today. It's expected that one of the big ones is happening in Chicago tomorrow. Donald Trump making it clear there in his speech today that we can't have criminals, we can't be harboring criminals in the United States like this.
But first, we must be honest about the challenges we face. While they are plentiful, they will be annihilated by this great momentum that the world is now witnessing in the United States of America. As we gather today, our government confronts a crisis of trust. For many years, a radical and corrupt establishment has extracted power and wealth from our citizens while the pillars of our society lay broken and seemingly in complete disrepair. We now have a government that cannot manage even a simple crisis at home, while at the same time stumbling into a continuing catalog of catastrophic events abroad. It fails to protect our magnificent, law-abiding American citizens, but provides sanctuary and protection for dangerous criminals, many from prisons and mental institutions that have illegally entered our country from all over the world. We have a government that has given unlimited funding to the defense of foreign borders, but refuses to defend American borders or, more importantly, its own people. Our country can no longer deliver basic services in times of emergency, as recently shown by the wonderful people of North Carolina, been treated so badly. And other states who are still suffering from a hurricane that took place many months ago. Or more recently, Los Angeles, where we are watching fires still tragically burn. from weeks ago without even a token of defense. They're raging through the houses and communities, even affecting some of the wealthiest and most powerful individuals in our country, some of whom are sitting here right now. They don't have a home any longer. That's interesting. But we can't let this happen. Everyone is unable to do anything about it. That's going to change.
Lots of changes coming. Lots of changes, everyone. And you know what? Some of them are going to be uncomfortable and some of them are going to feel weird. But you know what? You got to have a disruptor in there. Time Magazine actually calling him a disruptor. I consider that a very positive term. We talk about disruption when it comes to markets and the opportunities that are created from all that disruption. Well, Trump, the disruptor, is here and he means business. Quick shout out for one of our sponsors here on the Trish Regan Show. That would be American Hartford Gold. You can get up to $15,000 right now in free silver with qualifying offers. You can call them at 1-844-495-1115. You can text my name, Trish, to 65532. Again, text Trish to 65532 today for more on this $15,000 worth of free silver offer, or just go to trishlovesgold.com, trishlovesgold.com. We're going to talk a little bit more about the markets coming up, including the crypto markets, because wow, they have been on fire for sure. The markets overall have been on fire for sure. You know, Donald Trump is coming in and he's declassifying everything. This is one of the most refreshing things, I think, to happen in years. So yeah, sure, he's a disruptor. He's also disrupting the status quo in terms of what has always been. Hear him here at the rally last night.
As a first step toward restoring transparency and accountability to government, we will also reverse the overclassification of government documents, and in the coming days, we are going to make public remaining records relating to the assassinations of President John F. Kennedy, his brother Robert Kennedy, as well as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and other topics of great public interest. It's all going to be released, Uncle Sam.
Oh, you wonder why the status quo didn't want him coming into office. Disruptor he is. We're going to get to the bottom of just exactly what went down. He's declassifying all of these major files. And you know what? That's probably in part why Joe Biden moved to pardon so many people, including one Anthony Fauci. We have to get to that coming up because this is just outrageous. I mean, even CNN is calling Biden out for pardoning so many people. But the reality is you get someone who wants to actually bring some transparency into government. And you know what? With that transparency will come renewed faith in the United States of America. I mean, when you lose faith in your government, when you lose faith in your institutions, you've lost a lot, okay? And that's exactly what has happened. It has deteriorated and been chipped away at year after year after year. And you look back on the last 4 years and all the lies and all the garbage we were sold and told by the mainstream media, by the Biden administration, the whole lot of them, the Democrats. And you know what? There's a lot of good that can come of this right now, because the adults are back in charge. I mean, he even had to say this. He even had to say that the U.S. government is only going to recognize two genders. I mean, can you believe this even has to be said? Apparently, yes. You know what? It has to be said.
As of today, it will henceforth be the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female.
Look at the applause. You know what? It had to be said. It had to be clarified because apparently there's been some real confusion in this area. You know, I'll tell you, Whoopi Goldberg's not going to like this. Already the mainstream media, like, they don't like this. They don't like any part of this, right? They tried to warn us, oh my gosh, this guy was going to be so terrible. He might actually just say there's only a man and a woman and you can't have 250 other genders, like the BBC in their HR department offers you a choice of 200 plus genders. I mean, come odd, right? There are some things that should be kind of clear, black and white, night and day, male and female. Thank you very much. So Donald Trump making that very clear, along with his other priorities there today. Look, the shocking thing is that Biden was behind the scenes doing everything that he promised he wouldn't, including not only pardoning his son, but now Fauci, Liz Cheney, Milley, you name it. More on that in a second. But first, a shout out to Balance of Nature. You know what? It's a new year. Lots of new priorities. Well, Balance of Nature should be one of yours. I take the fruits and veggies every single day. They actually send it to my house so you can get the same exact thing, 35% off with code word Trish. Also, free shipping and money-back guarantee, so no harm, no foul. Use code word Trish at Balance of Nature, balanceofnature.com. 1-800-246-8751 is their number, 1-800-246-8751. I love this stuff. And you know what? I have gone, well, we're not through the winter yet. What am I saying? We're kind of in the thick of it, right? January 20th, big day. But so far, so good. I'm going to knock on wood. No colds yet. I hate getting a cold. I'm a former singer. So, the singers really, really don't like getting colds. It's really not good for our larynx, etc. Anyway, I have yet to get one this year, which is a big deal because my kids are getting them all the time. And I actually think it's because for really the first time in my life, I'm being vigilant about taking my multivitamins and taking my fruits and veggies, all from Balance of Nature. So Joe Biden is on a pardoning bonanza. And you know what? It's pretty bad when even the mainstream media, like CNN, the liberal CNN commentator over here, his name is John King, saying, you know what, this is kind of bad. It's kind of like a stain on the guy's legacy that he's pardoning like this, all at the 11th hour, after telling the American people he wouldn't. Listen.
It's just unseemly. If you're going to do it, have the courage to do it in the light of day and explain it to the American people. It's a stain on his legacy to do it like this.
For sure it is. A total stain. So he pardoned General Milley and Anthony Fauci. And of course, Liz Cheney and the whole J6 committee. He had a few things to say about one Adam Kinzinger, who was part of that J6 committee, in his little impromptu speech that he gave. He kind of went off script, and it was great because he was classic Trump just moments ago. Let me see if I have a clip of that. I want to show you what he had to say about Adam. Let's take a peek at this. But first, think about what Schumer was saying back in 2020. Remember Chuck Schumer saying absolutely not, Trump should never pardon anyone ever, no way, no how, because that's just not what we do?
The president seems intent on filling each of his remaining days in office with petulance, grievance, self-interest. The president's reportedly asking his staff about whether he can whether he can issue. President's reportedly asking his staff whether he can issue preemptive pardons for himself, his family members, Rudy Giuliani. There's a simple answer: no. No, Mr. President, that would be a gross abuse of the presidential pardon authority.
Right. So it's a gross abuse unless, of course, you're Joe Biden doing it, in which case, they give you all these special exceptions. Here's Adam Kinzinger saying if he was offered a pardon, he wouldn't even take it because it's so unethical.
Then issue pardons for the January 6th committee members, including yourself?
No, I don't want it. Look, here's the
You
thing.
don't want it?
No, because the second a pardon is issued, and look, I understand the theory behind it, because Donald Trump has clearly said he's going to go after everybody. And it's not going to be for the January 6th investigation. What they'll do is they'll weaponize other investigations. They'll look into everything and start an investigation that'll end up coming to naught, force people to pay money. This happened to Brad Raffensperger in Georgia as he was forced to defend himself. But the second you take a pardon, it looks like you're guilty of something. I'm guilty of nothing besides bringing the truth to the American people and in the process embarrassing Donald Trump, because for 187 minutes he sat there and did absolutely nothing and showed how weak and scared he truly was. So no, I don't want it. And, the bottom line is, if he wants to bring up January 6th again, we've had all this talk about how we're moving on from January 6th, and trust me, Anderson, I would love to. Like, my life has been defined by this for 4 years, but if he wants to bring it back, I will be happily talking about everything the committee did and learn and re-embarrass
what some people may not realize is you're saying you don't want a pardon. Fighting whatever might come your way can cost you and your family, hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, you think about it, like, and this happened with.
Oh, because he's so brave, right? He doesn't want a pardon. He'd actually welcome the opportunity to fight this because then he can bring January 6th up all over again. Wow. Well, Donald Trump addressed this. Again, that was Adam from like a couple of months ago. That was before Donald Trump had won the election. Let's take a look at what Trump had to say today about Adam and Liz Cheney.
But I was really going to talk about the level of, what's going on. Why are we doing this? Why are we trying to help a guy like Milley? Why are we doing Milley? He was pardoned. What he said, terrible what he said. Why are we helping some of the people? Why are we helping Liz Cheney? I mean, Liz Cheney is a disaster. She's a crying lunatic and crying Adam Kinzinger. He's a super crying. I never saw the guy not crying. He's always crying.
But he brings up a good point. Like, what are you doing there? Why are you running around trying to help these people? In other words, if these people are guilty, they ought to be able to stand up and defend themselves. And if they're not guilty, okay. But what is the preemptive pardon thing? I mean, we're going like full-on banana republic all of a sudden. And again, I go back to 2020. Joe Biden himself. What did he say back in 2020 when it was rumored that Donald Trump was going to be pardoning his kids, etc.? He went on and on about how he would never do such a thing. These people, oh my gosh, the hypocrisy is off the charts. Watch.
President Trump is reportedly considering a wave of preemptive pardons. Does this concern you? All these preemptive pardons?
Well, it concerns me in terms of what kind of precedent it sets and how the rest of the world looks at us as a nation of laws and justice. You're not going to see in our administration that kind of approach to pardons, nor are you going to see in our administration the approach to making policy by tweets. It's just going to be a totally different way in which we approach the justice system.
Yeah, right. We're just going to pardon everyone, like all 2,500. We're pardoned here, pardoned there. There's a guy who's actually been convicted of killing some FBI agents. He just pardoned him moments ago. I mean, what the heck? So much for law and order. Think about it, guys. This party, the Democrat Party, is the one that started the Russia thing, the not legitimate president. That was Jimmy Carter, don't forget, who started the whole thing. Well, I don't believe he's a legitimate president because he was put there by the Russians, and then Hillary Clinton picked it up, and AOC, and the whole squad, etc. Maxine Waters, not my president, not a legitimate president. They were the ones that were undermining democracy, as you say, from the very beginning with that. And then we had to spend, 4 years with the Russia gate? Turns out, what are we there? Oh, that was opposition research, you see, bought and paid for by Hillary Clinton. It's kind of amazing. I mean, she was the one guilty in all of this. It's sort of stunning how they try and twist and turn things in real time. Hillary Clinton should be ashamed of what she did. And then to think we fast forward into 2020 and we're dealing with the laptop from HELL that happened to belong to one Hunter Biden. And as soon as the New York Post reports that, gosh darn it, if you reported on that, you were in so much trouble because 51 ex-spooks, including John Brennan, and the former deputy director of the CIA, Mike Morell, they came out with a big long letter and 51 signatures on there. It was all orchestrated, of course, by Antony Blinken, our now current Treasury. Forgive me. How could I say current? Our past, because it's over. It's you know what? It's gone. The last 4 years, you can feel really good. Put your shoulders back, feel some pride in the country again, because those days are over. Our former Secretary of State, who wanted Joe Biden to win, he's the one that worked with Mike Morell to put that whole letter together. I mean, they have lied and lied and lied and lied and lied, and they lied even to Joe. We've now learned he didn't even know that they had cut off liquid natural gas supplies. Think about that. They weren't even telling him what they were doing in the policy itself. He didn't know, for example, when he was running for president, that his poll numbers were as weak as they were. He couldn't understand why they wanted to put Kamala in. I mean, I'm with him sort of on that. They lied to Joe. They need to go away. Far, far, far away. And is this retribution? I don't think so. I think this is about wiping the slate clean and saying we're going to have a transparent country and a transparent government going forward because, this just isn't working for us. And he's right. Donald Trump saying that, it's worked for a certain class of people, but it has not worked for everyone. And the fact that he's willing to do this, right? Think about what he's been up against with the mainstream media calling him every name in the book. And by the way, they're still doing it. They're still not willing to give him any praise, but we have been through this now for 4 years and running. I mean, call it 8, right? Because the first 4 years of his presidency, and this is why he's coming back so much stronger, were filled with junk like this.
Of course, Trump is a Nazi time again.
Let's deal with Hitler, okay?
I don't think it's hyperbolic to say that. I mean, that is Mussolini, Hitler-like language.
Trump's affinity for Hitler was always covered under an umbrella of his stupidity.
Echoing Hitler's words.
Listen to this. Well, Hitler was duly elected.
That's right. Echoing the hateful rhetoric of Adolf Hitler.
It echoes Hitler. That's the kind of language Hitler used in Mein Kampf.
About vermin and Hitler and Mussolini.
That's a horrifying clip. That's a fascist clip.
Just going full on Hitler.
From Hitler's Germany.
We just need to say, for the record, that the term vermin was really effectively used by Adolf Hitler.
Echo dictators like Hitler.
With language evoking authoritarian figures like Adolf Hitler and
Donald Trump parroted the autocratic language of Adolf Hitler.
Talk about the brilliance of Hitler's generals.
Correct.
General Kelly,
yeah. These people are pretty gross. Right? That's the mainstream media for you. So think about it within the context of that backdrop. Donald Trump went in and he won. And he won the Electoral College big time. And he won the popular vote. He won the popular vote. Nobody thought he could do that, right? He won the popular vote. This was a mandate. Just don't tell ABC News. Disney owned ABC News, which has been front and center in trying to make sure that you never elect this guy again. Their World News Tonight anchor, one David Muir, the guy, maybe you don't know him, he's the one that had the clothespin on his fire retardant jacket because, he needed to look all dapper for the camera while reporting on fires there in Los Angeles. Yeah, that guy. Listen to him talking about Donald Trump and how he really doesn't have a mandate. No. Yeah, right.
I know it's a point, Mark Updegrove, that's not lost on you either. So much is made about Donald Trump and the mandate, even though from a popular vote standpoint, it was a relatively close election. He won the Electoral College, no question, mandate there, if you will. Does have the Congress, though very slim margins in the House and Senate. It'll still be quite a feat to get things passed, particularly when you're plucking members of the House to serve in your cabinet. Very slim margins there for the Speaker of the House. But as Terry points out, it's not just that the Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the White House, or are about to. It's the fact that the Supreme Court has given Donald Trump, whoever the next incoming president was, but now it's Donald Trump, significant power and protection now to do what they want.
There's so many things that make Trump 47 different from Trump 45, David, and that's one of them. The broader
right, they're
powers
all
of
upset
immunity.
Because it turns out that, the president does have immunity. Because, by the way, if the president didn't have immunity, I would imagine that every president would get sued and would somehow wind up in jail. And that's kind of where they were trying to take us, right? This banana republic-esque situation that we've been dealing with for the last 8 years. All started by the Democrats. I go back to Hillary Clinton and what she did, and the Russia, all bought and paid for, right, by her opposition research team, and they created shadowy layers, so it turns out it was the law firm that contracted Fusion GPS, which contracted these other people, and then they kind of leaked it out there to try and get the media on board with the story, and sow all this doubt. Well, I'll tell you, who's not very happy today, and Donald Trump noticed it? Obviously Kamala Harris. Also Joe Biden, although, Maybe he's kind of happy in some little way, shape, or form because he's out of there and now he can take naps all he wants, right? Doesn't have to get on a plane and go anywhere. Well, Hillary Clinton, she's still not happy. Hillary Clinton's actually talking about coming back. In all seriousness, guys, this is being floated. This shows you how dumb the Democrats really are about coming back and maybe running for office after Trump.
You know, the only thing good about it, it showed how bad they are, showed how incompetent, and frankly, historically, this is a much bigger event. If that would have gone like it should have, the bad thing about it is some bad things happened, like a lot of people in our country that wouldn't be in our country right now. So, you know, that's the bad part. But I will say that it started in 2015, and right from the beginning, we went to the top. Day one, they announced Trump, and Trump went to number one and stayed there for the whole primary. And then we took on Hillary. She didn't look too happy today. We took on Hillary, a very nice person, but we took on Hillary and we defeated Hillary. And then we did much better the second time in 2020. You know, we got millions more votes. We got millions, like 10, 12 million more votes than we did the first time.
It is a mandate. Okay, so no matter what the mainstream media tries to tell you, no matter how they try and frame this, it is a mandate. Because when you consider all that he was up against, and the American people still came out and they rallied behind him, he was nearly killed twice. All right, so you got assassination attempts in there, everything, and yet he's still up there. It's really amazing. And yet some people, like this woman over on CBS, by the way, CBS is getting sued by President Trump, sued to the tune of $10 billion, which is actually more than the company is worth. CBS News' Gayle King. She's the one that's friends with Oprah. You know, Oprah, who got paid, according to the New York Times, some $2 million to do that interview with Kamala Harris. She's all upset because she doesn't see enough diversity there up on stage. Come on.
Guys, I have to say, I'm looking at this crowd. I do not see many people of color. Has anybody else besides me observed that? I'm fascinated by why that is.
On Martin Luther King Jr. Day, the most notable and one of the most high-ranking is Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, first black woman to serve on the U.S. Supreme Court, notably appointed by Joe Biden as he wanted to follow in the footsteps of Jimmy Carter and appointing a number of women and black women to the federal judgeships.
General Brown, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, is probably there. In fact, that might be the side of his head. No, because he's, well, I can't tell what uniform that is. I can't tell from this. But he was undoubtedly there.
Yeah, I saw Jim Clyburn. I saw him.
I'm sorry. Like, I'm just so over it. Did you guys see Scott Bessent, by the way, the new Treasury Secretary? They're like railing on the debt and deficits and how it's just, it was a phenomenal testimony that he gave. He was being questioned there by members of the Senate. They're so out of their league because they don't understand anything about finance. But anyway, Scott Bessent, who's just, I guess, if you want to start counting diversity plays, check him out. His husband and his son are seated behind him here. This is the Treasury Secretary of the United States, but it's not enough for Gayle King. No.
We do not have a revenue problem in the United States of America. We have a spending problem. That historically, for the past 40 or 50 years, revenues, federal government revenues, have averaged about 17 to 17.5% of GDP. Yeah. And spending has been slightly over that, leading us to a 3.5% budget deficit, which is manageable because we have roughly 3.8% nominal growth, 1.8% real growth, 2% inflation. Today, as you stated, and to be clear, this is one of the things that got me out from behind my desk and my quiet life in this campaign, was the thought that this spending is out of control. We are spending about 24, 25% of GDP. So as you said, 6.8 to 7% deficit. We have never seen this before when it is not a recession or not a war. And I am concerned because several times the Treasury of the United States has been called upon to save the nation, whether it was the Civil War, the Great Depression, World War II, or the recent COVID epidemic. Treasury, along with full government and Congress, has used its borrowing capacity to save the Union, to save the world, and to save the American people.
Okay, that's your next Treasury Secretary. But again, I guess he doesn't count because he's a white male. You know what? I'm just saying, like, we have gotten so far away from our values as a nation. We are a meritocracy. We're capitalists, right? We believe in whoever is going to do the best job is going to get the job. And that's where Donald Trump comes out. So guess what? You got a lot of diversity actually in his cabinet. If Gail would go looking for it, it's just that not everybody's wearing it on their sleeve because you know what? We don't need to. We're beyond that. You people are stuck in some other time where frankly, you know, you really want to get into it down and dirty. It's actually pretty racist in and of itself to say that someone should get a job just because of the color of their skin. I mean, that actually is unconstitutional if you really think about it. And so all these DEI programs all over the country, they're being dismantled one by one. Facebook, in fact, Mark Zuckerberg is blaming Sheryl Sandberg for the whole thing. It's Sheryl's fault because Sheryl was the one who was obsessed with making sure we had all the diversity, equity, and inclusion. Well, she's gone. Mark Zuckerberg is now cozying up to Trump. You got prime seating there today, along with Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk. Look, everybody's getting rid of these programs. You've got Walmart saying, no more. You got Boeing, no more. Everyone has seen the light, except for the likes of Gayle King. But guess what? Gayle King, watch out, because your network is getting sued, by one Donald Trump because of, in his view, their election interference. Remember what they did on 60 Minutes? Remember that? Well, they seem to know that they're in some deep trouble because breaking today, we get word that CBS News is looking to settle. They're coming to some kind of terms here because they realize that they are on the wrong side of history, if you would, because of what they tried to do in that 60 Minutes report to try to make Kamala look a whole lot better. I remember it. I got the clip.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
We're not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
Yeah, that's like the before and after, right? Quite a before and after. So once they edited it and they massaged it, they actually made her sound coherent. Well, now they're realizing maybe that wasn't such a smart thing to do because they were completely misrepresenting her, but that's what they do, right? Like it's all a facade. It's manufactured news. They don't have any authenticity, any realness. Everything is scripted. Everything is edited. And there you go. Well, CBS now looking to settle here with Donald Trump. Let me put this on the screen for you. This is in the Wall Street Journal today because you see he's suing them for $10 billion because of that 60 Minutes Harris interview. And that could be problematic. You see Paramount, which is the parent company, again, it's only worth like $8 billion. So this would be a pretty big deal for them if they got hit with a $10 billion suit. It would actually totally put them out of business. They're trying to merge with Skydance. And you see the FCC, one Brandon Carr, who's the newly named FCC chief, he's going to have some say over that, which means Donald Trump is going to have some say over that, which means CBS, you might not want the likes of Gayle King going on and, going on and on about how there's this, that, and the other and the problems with Donald Trump. But, they can't help themselves. They just can't help themselves. It's like a bad habit that they cannot break. They've been doing it for 8 years. Forgive me. 8 years from the moment Donald Trump came down the escalator. At first, they thought he was a joke. They kind of liked him. Remember back then when Joe and Mika wanted to have him on the show all the time because they thought it was funny and they thought it would be just so great because he was the easiest candidate for Hillary Clinton to beat. And what did I say at the time? Don't be so sure. Because Donald Trump has tapped into something that's frankly common sense. As he said up there, that we need to restore common sense in America. We need a little bit of that, right? It's partly why, you know what, I created 76 Research, my financial research company. It is why I created it, because together with investor Rob Horton, we were saying, you know, people are missing out on some obvious opportunities because of this nonsense. And we got to get rid of the nonsense. I mean, fortunately, that's actually happening. I was talking to Rob actually just yesterday on the 76 channel because we were watching Bitcoin, which has been on a tear. Actually, after my broadcast with him, I saw Bitcoin go up to, 109,000. So Donald Trump's ushering in this whole new era, and there's all this market optimism as a result of it. You can hear Rob's take really quickly right here.
Particularly in November and sort of heading towards December, there was a lot of enthusiasm and money coming into the market. People are excited about the tax cuts, the deregulatory agenda, just sort of pro-business policies, right? Looking, at all things and trying to make the best decisions to grow the economy while containing inflation. So I think, there really was a lot of enthusiasm in the aftermath of the election, and it was warranted. But then actually, in mid-December with the Fed.
And so as a result of that enthusiasm, you saw the market go up, up, up. In fact, we could actually almost sort of even predict. I was looking at the polls, but I was also looking at the market because the market internals were telling us, you know what, there's a good shot Donald Trump is going to win. You looked at the upside that you were seeing in the cryptos, like Ethereum and Bitcoin. And again, it was telling a story there. And so, look, we're continuing to see this. Again, crypto is completely wild. And the crypto market here, this is just taken off of Coinbase. It's at 103. It was at 109, I think, last night. But it's wild, wild west. But I think this upside, considering where it was just a few years ago, down around 30,000, shows you the commitment to the change that's happening, the technology change that's going to be happening. It's another thing that we got into on the show.
And so Bitcoin's position is as this idea that it's going to become a monetary network that's globally used. And it's already there. It's already a $2 trillion asset class. Ethereum's has about 50% share within stablecoins. Mm-hmm. So it's sort of like the underlying technology that supports the stablecoin industry. But then you've got other leading tokens like Solana, which is considered very good technology for international financial transactions. XRP, you mentioned Ripple, which mainstream financial institutions seem to be adopting as they transform the way transactions are processed. So the whole architecture of money is changing with these digital assets, and it's really kind of
long story short, there's a lot more to come. So if you're interested in any of this, I encourage you to go to 76research.com, 76research.com, use code word dollar, get the 76 report. We actually have a piece coming out on Bitcoin today and other cryptos. Or if you don't want to do that, it's $1 a month. Again, code word dollar, DOLLAR, for the first 2 months. If you don't want to spare the dollar, although I think you can, go to Invest in MAGA, because that's the free thing. You would get it with 76 report as well. But investinmaga.com, which is a broad overview of what the upside potential is right now. And I do think there's plenty of upside potential. I mean, this is exciting stuff, guys. These are exciting times, and there's a lot that's going to happen as a result of it. Lots of policy changes. Meanwhile, it sounds like there's a lot that could possibly be happening in Barack and Michelle's marriage. Barack Obama sparking new rumors after he was caught out on the town last night. Someone's cell phone got a picture. Take a look. Okay, so he doesn't have a blonde beauty on his arm. But he's walking around, hanging out, man on the town, all on his own, because why? Oh, Michelle Obama decided to skip the inauguration. It's kind of really rude, right? I mean, You were first lady for 8 years. Don't tell me this is about Trump. See, I'm not buying it. If she hadn't have skipped Jimmy Carter's funeral, then maybe I'd think, she just is a classless person who doesn't understand the significance of her being there, who doesn't understand that she does play a role in history. But you know what? She skipped out on Carter's funeral because she had an extended vacation in Hawaii. So I'm just putting two and two together, and I wasn't born yesterday. Neither was Kid Rock.
So is this your first inauguration?
No. I was actually listening to your show a little bit before I got in the truck here, and I heard, Michelle Obama's not attending. I would kindly remind her that years back, when Obama was first elected, I did not vote for him. But they asked me to play the inauguration, and I played it, and I went. Had a good time. I went for out of respect to the presidency, so I would kindly remind Miss Michelle about that.
I forgot about that, and that's cool, because it's really not about the politics, it's about the office, and you got to respect it. Why isn't Michelle attending? All the other first ladies are.
I don't know. She seems a little angry. She might be, I don't know. You can't say something nice.
Oh, if you can't say something nice, let me say it, okay? Here's the reality. The expectation is the two of them are getting Splitsville, right? Like, it's over. She said before she wasn't really, that happy in her marriage at various points. She literally went out and said this. It became big news when she said there were times that she just couldn't stand.
People think I'm being catty by saying this. It's like there were 10 years when I couldn't stand my husband.
No, and so that got picked up by everybody. People magazine did a big thing. I guess she couldn't stand her husband for 10 years. And then, you couple all this together, right, with her just not showing up. This is the one that really gets me. You don't show up at Jimmy Carter's funeral. Like, he's a big deal in the Democrat Party. You're like a big deal, Democrat with a capital D. You can't make it from Hawaii. Your vacation is that important to you? Although, do you see this, guys? That super dirty look that was given to Barack Obama and Donald Trump by one Kamala Harris. We all thought it was because, she hates Trump and she's so miserable that she didn't get elected. But what if I'm completely speculating. We're just having fun, right? It's Inauguration Day. What if she actually knew something? Because that was like the look of a woman who clearly almost like she didn't approve of Barack. Not just because he's talking to Trump, but maybe because of something else. Maybe because, doesn't she hang out with that crowd in LA? Maybe because she got wind of this. I mean, this is really wild. I know that some of you thought that, Barack might have other interests, but apparently, according to In Touch magazine, which is just a bunch of rumors and should be considered nothing but just a bunch of rumors, he's having something with Jennifer Aniston. So this is the start. The truth about Jen and Barack, In Touch magazine. I mean, it's wild. So much so that Jennifer Aniston actually had to go on to her friend Jimmy Kimmel's show and break her silence about whether or not she was dating Barack Obama. And she's like, absolutely not, absolutely, positively not. But a lot of people kind of think that that's not the case. This woman who covers celebrity gossip and politics, Jennifer Reed Krause, said basically insiders are predicting that there's going to be a divorce announcement coming really, really soon. So that's why maybe she's not at Donald Trump's inauguration. They did somehow manage to save face with this move. They tweeted out here, Barack tweeted, "Happy birthday to the love of my life, Michelle Obama. You fill the room with warmth, wisdom, humor, and grace, and you look good doing it. I'm so lucky to be able to take you on life's adventures with you, love you." And she wrote back, "Love you, honey." Of course, everybody's like, who the heck is having this birthday dinner with literally no food on the plates and not even so much as any water in their glasses? A little bit strange, don't you think? Not that we really, really care. It's just kind of interesting, right? Just sort of interesting. Listen, this has been a wild ride. You guys have been here with me for the last 4 years. I mean, since 2020, as we've watched all of this unfold. you can expect that there's going to be a lot of fury, a lot of resistance from the mainstream media as more and more of these policies come into play. Again, Donald Trump shutting down the border just as soon as he came in. He's got a lot of power to do so. One, because you know what? He's been through this before. He knows what he's up against, and he's not willing to put up with it the way that maybe, as a newcomer, you were willing to do so before. So here's MSNBC going to town, furious about one of the first things that Donald Trump does. Here, let's take a look.
One of the very first things the new administration did was to shut down a government app. That app allowed migrants to schedule their appointments to cross the border at a port of entry. It's been used by almost 1 million immigrants. Coming 5.
Okay, well, she's right. That's exactly what he did. He shut down the app. They're not happy about it, but he promised he would. He shut down that border app, which was allowing migrants to legally enter the United States. Whether or not he can do that, I'm actually not entirely sure. I think this was an executive order type thing. I think that they're putting a stop on people coming in, at least temporarily so, until they can kind of get their hands and heads around this. This is why you saw the port of entry there in El Paso, Texas, shutting down today. This is all part of his effort to get the border situation under control. And, for whatever reason, and you can speculate as to why this is. I mean, a lot of people worry that it's really sort of more of this gerrymandering type thing, that they were trying to bring illegal migrants into the country and somehow get them a path to citizenship so that they would then in turn vote for more Democrats. But I'll tell you, first of all, it's not that predictable because Hispanics overwhelmingly, shockingly, it's a massive increase in the percentage of Hispanics were voting for Donald Trump. So it turns out it was kind of a bad, flawed strategy on behalf of those Democrats that were trying to position it. But also, you've got Tom Homan now coming in saying he means business and he's willing to take some of these chances and do what's needed to secure this country.
Am I blowing your cover when I announced that there's going to be a big raid in Chicago on Tuesday? Or do you want people to know? Maybe they can self-deport.
There's going to be a big raid all across the country. Chicago is just one of many places. If we got 24 field officers across the country. On Tuesday, you're going to expect ICE. ICE is finally going to go out and do their job. We're going to take the handcuffs off ICE and let them go arrest criminal aliens. That's what's going to happen.
So that's expected to begin tomorrow. But as I said, you see the border shutting down. You see the app that you would be applying for asylum shutting down. Donald Trump really coming out swinging here in a big, big way. And the guy who's running the whole operation, he means business. I mean, Tom Homan is no joke. I've known him for many, many years. He's the salt of the earth, a wonderful guy, but he's not messing around. He told CBS News as much a few months back.
One estimate that says it would cost $88 billion to deport 1 million people a year.
I don't know if that's accurate or not.
Is that what American taxpayers should expect?
What price do you put on national security? Is that worth it?
Is there a way to carry out mass deportation without separating families?
Of course there is. Families can be deported together.
You see? So I would expect a lot to be happening in the next couple of days. I mean, this guy, he's not messing around. He's absolutely not messing around. He's gonna see a lot of anguish from the mainstream media, as well as from one Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and a few others there in the extreme left. Let me see if I can play this for you, because just last night she was literally flipping out. I mean, AOC really likes to stomp her feet, right, when she does not get her way. And it's kind of sort of endemic, right, for the entire Democrat Party. It's their way or the highway, and they're really not willing to go along with anyone else for anything else. And so consequently, in this case, they lost big time. They lost in 16 as well. And when they lost in 16, they decided that they were just going to say, oh, not my president, really. I mean, that in and of itself is what initiated, if you ask me, the entire the entire discussion that really put this entire country in jeopardy. I mean, that was the destruction, frankly, of democracy. That was her right from the beginning. So this crackpot, I mean, forgive my French, I just can't believe that AOC is actually in the position of power that she is. She was doing this little thing online and trying to basically, I don't know if she's getting paid by Blue Sky. I think some of these people have deals with Blue Sky, which is like a social media app for Dems. She went on and started flipping out. She's like hyperventilating because Trump's about to become president. Watch.
Well, we are on the eve of an authoritarian administration. This is what 21st century fascism is starting to look like. Republicans really model themselves after Orban's Hungary. And so you can look to see how Viktor Orban runs Hungary to get a taste of how they will try to govern and control media and companies in the United States. And this is kind of an entree to that. As far as what we do, this is a time of experimentation. A lot of people will still use platforms, can still use platforms, but I also look towards places where you have more ownership as well and develop your audiences there. Like Blue Sky, you own your audience. It's a protocol, decentralized protocol, newsletters, email.
I mean, it's sort of funny, right? Like she's trying to give people advice on how to run your social media platform. Wow. She ought to invest in gold. Really. I mean, and she's not worried about things. I do invest in gold. I always invest in gold. I know it's higher right now. It's actually had this tremendous run up. I think because of just some of the fundamental flaws, right, that are going on in our economy with all of this spending, and also a lot of emerging market countries around the world seeking alternatives because they don't fully trust the Biden administration. I mean, maybe things will change to a certain extent with Trump now in, but it doesn't change my fundamental outlook on the inflation scenario and the need for me, at least in my own personal life, to be able to make sure that my investments and my savings are keeping pace with inflation overall. Because, even on the good days, we're still going up around 2%. So if you feel that way as well, you can call my friends at American Heart for Gold, or you can text Trish to, let me give you the number here, it's on the screen, 65532. You can get up to $15,000 actually in free silver with qualifying offers. 1-844-495-1115 is their number. Again, 1-844-495-1115. But yeah, I'll just say, like, overall, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, we're coming into, look at that. I've got a picture of Donald Trump's mugshot on the screen because I want to remind you sort of where we've been and where we're going, because this was a really tumultuous, difficult, horrible time. I think to be a Republican, to be a Trump supporter, you were sort of well, let's see if we have Joe Scarborough saying it, because he told us over and over again just exactly what he thought.
I vote for Donald Trump in 2024, and I've said it on my show, I'll say it here. They're knowingly voting for a fascist. They're voting for a racist. They're voting for somebody that wants to put this country 200 years in the back. And so I'm not trying to figure them out. I'm trying to figure out how we get people out who love democracy, who love freedom, who love the rights of all Americans, how to get them to the voting booth, because that's how we save our country.
Wow. So just to be clear, that comment from him was made just a few weeks before the election. Right, so that was the tenor. That was where people were. Like somehow, if you supported Trump, that you were a racist, that you believed in fascism, that you were the lowest of the low. So they were trying to cut off half the country. The reality is they had a candidate that was terrible, both in Joe Biden and in Kamala Harris. They had a policy situation that was clearly awful from an inflation standpoint, from a border standpoint, and from an international standpoint. So they had literally nothing to run on other than, he's a fascist. He's going to take away your rights. He's not going to allow gay marriage. He's not going to allow this, that, and the other. I mean, Trump's like, you know what? Just fix the country, for God's sakes. That's all we need to do, right? Listen to him.
Our sovereignty will be reclaimed. Our safety will be restored. The scales of justice will be rebalanced. The vicious, violent, and unfair weaponization of the Justice Department and our government will end. And our top priority will be to create a nation that is proud, prosperous, and free.
Yes.
America will soon be greater, stronger, and far more exceptional than ever before. I return to the presidency confident and optimistic that we are at the start of a thrilling new era of national success. A tide of change is sweeping the country. Sunlight is pouring over the entire world. And America has the chance to seize this opportunity like never before.
And we will. Right? I mean, we're going to seize this opportunity. He's got a smart team. They've been working really hard to make sure that they were ready for this day. He is ready like he has never been ready before. America is ready like America's never been ready before. So good things ahead. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, good things ahead. I mean, there is a lot of reason for optimism. I hope that if you haven't subscribed, make sure that you subscribe and make sure you hit that bell, because I'm here live every day. We really are on the front lines of history. And you know what? We're growing. 525,000 subs, my gosh, and still counting thanks to your commitment. This is all organic. This is no marketing. This is just Trish and you. All right? So do your part. Make a comment. Let me know what you think. Are you ready for a very different future? Because there's a lot of greatness to come. God bless America. God bless our new president. God bless you. I will see you right back here on the program again tomorrow live, as always.